IndyCar opened their 2022 season today, and what a race it was, coming down to the final corner of the final lap, and we've got a new winner in IndyCar. Let's talk about it. Well, they're already beginning to tear things down and get ready for the 2023 Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. What a beautiful day here at Albert Whitted Airport. And it was a beautiful day for Scott McLaughlin, the driver who was so highly touted coming out of the Supercar Series Down Under, but it took him a little while to come to grips with IndyCar. And today, he definitely found his grip. Qualified on pole yesterday and was able to come away with a win today. It's amazing to me how just it clicked by. It felt so fast, this race. This whole weekend, really, in a lot of ways, was absolutely blazing fast. And it's so great that we're here at St. Petersburg a couple of weeks early. We're actually starting the season in February, which has been needed for a very long time. We got to get the off-season shorter, but the crowd came out hardcore. This was a huge, enthusiastic crowd. I stood down and watched the race here in turn one, and every time there was a pass, no matter who it was, there was a big cheer. But certainly guys like Herta, especially Grosjean, Jimmy, there were big cheers for the big stars. So that was really fun. It was a fun atmosphere here. Adam Stern reported that they've sold more merch than they ever have. They got the merchandise out early. You could get a t-shirt about pretty much everybody you wanted except for Felix Rosenqvist for some reason. But outside of that, yeah, I think it's a really positive start to this 2022 NTT IndyCar Series campaign. So interviews were hard to come by today. Because it's a street circuit and it's because it's the first race of the season, there's a heavy media presence here. It was so hard to get a hold of guys. Luckily, you guys will be happy with this. We got to talk to the Chung. So, you know, obviously he was the defending winner of this race. Didn't quite get there, but there's a reason for that. And, well, listen to it in his own words.
It was a solid race. We had some problems that were kind of out of our control. We couldn't get the car full, unfortunately, so we're having to make stops earlier, but it happens sometimes. But luckily, we had a fast enough car that we could feel safe and still be competitive with. Whereas instead, if we didn't have a competitive car, we'd probably be 13, 14. So happy with fourth. Great start to the season. You know, and so yeah, it's a good sign to come for our street course cars and stuff like that. I'm confident about that.
I don't know about you, but that race felt short. 100 laps allegedly here. What was the deal with that? No yellows. We all thought it was going to be a wreck fest. Why not?
I have no clue. And especially with, when's the last time we come to this place with 26 cars? And
never.
Yeah, and only one person walled it. So, yeah, I was really hoping. I was short on fuel, so I was really hoping for a yellow, maybe make some of that deficit back. But no, it didn't come. It's felt so fast for what this race. This race is usually the longest street course that we go to, race lengthwise. So, you know, when it's only, I don't know how long it was, but it couldn't have been over an hour and a half or much further than that. So, yeah, no, I had fun either way, though.
On to Texas next. How are you feeling about your oval program for this year?
It's a big unknown around Texas. You know, I think we've shown that we can be fast at Indy, we can be fast at Gateway. We were fast last year, or 2 years ago at Iowa. So we have speed. Texas is the only place that since my rookie year we haven't been extremely fast at. So we have some cool stuff in the works. Roman and Devlin actually test there this week, actually. So that'll be interesting to see. They have some good stuff that we can try. And so yeah, there's big changes in the works for Texas that we want to try. We'll see if they work. If they do, hopefully we're in the front.
So you've heard from, well, one of the competitors. Let's talk about all 26. Here are the results for the St. Petersburg Grand Prix. Scott McLaughlin winning and falling over, of course. That was very funny. You New Zealanders, you Kiwis, told us he was a personality, and I think we're finally starting to see that from Scott. He's endearing himself to the American fans. What a fantastic result for Scott McLaughlin. And it's important to note, because it's been said a few times, that the winner of the first race in the last 2 seasons has gone on to win the NTT IndyCar Series championship. We'll see if that plays out. The guy who finished second, he's pretty good too. He's a defending series champion, Alex Palou for Chip Ganassi Racing, and what an exciting finish it was. And honestly, Alex Palou, I think a lot of people have already been saying it. I'm not the first to say it. Certainly a very Scott Dixon-esque performance. Had a crash in practice, looked like he was nowhere all weekend, and gets a P2 to start the year. Willpower was strong all day. Certainly there were some traffic concerns, and Power certainly talked about it quite a bit. Colton Herta, as you heard, had some fuel concerns. That really took him out of contention. Romain Grosjean was so exciting. They really were into him here. The crowd was just crazy, man, for Romain Grosjean. And I think, you know, there was a survey that came out today. He was the most popular driver in the series. It showed. Rinus VeeKay was an absolutely sterling driver today. Ed Carpenter Racing really, I think, nailed the strategy. Even though he lost 2 spots, I think VeeKay was one of the best performances on the day. Graham Rahal was there. He just wasn't quite all the way at the front. Scott Dixon certainly looked like he had some bad strategy, but managing to pull off a top 10, that's classic Scott Dixon. Marcus Ericsson was really strong at the beginning of the race, but wasn't so strong at the end. Takuma Sato from 22nd to 10th, a 12-position gain. Fantastic for Takuma Sato in his first race with Dale Coyne Racing. Christian Lundgaard was struggling throughout this week, but ends up coming home with an 11th place finish. Pato O'Ward and Arrow McLaren SP certainly made some strategy calls. They took some swings at it. It didn't quite pay off. Jack Harvey was up 10 spots from his 23rd place starting position. Elio Castroneves and Simon Pagenaud, I would say this is a disappointing run for Meyer-Shank Racing in their first race as a full-time 2-car team. But perhaps disappointingly, the biggest disappointment, Joseph Newgarden. And I just think back to last year at Barber, that big crash, that bad finish at the first race, a 16th here. Will we be talking about that at the end of the season? Felix Rosenqvist, not a great weekend for the Arrow McLaren SP team. Kyle Kirkwood looks strong, but bad strategy bit him. Ditto Callum Ilott, who was up at the front. Ditto Alexander Rossi. Connor Daly, unfortunately, wasn't much of a factor all day. Devlin DeFrancesco certainly was, but it wasn't for great reasons. The front-running drivers at the end were a little bit upset with him. Ditto Jimmy Johnson. Will Power, in particular, had some pretty biting remarks about how Jimmy raced to stay on the lead lap. Tatiana Calderon, in her debut for IndyCar, 3 laps down, last car running. Dalton Kellett had some mechanical issues, unfortunately not able to cap off his best starting position of his career, and 14th. And then finally, David Malukas had a big crash, the only driver to crash out of this race. So, I'm thinking about Scott McLaughlin a little bit. And, you know, it was mentioned in the press conference a couple of times, but you think about it, really one of Scotty's best races of last year was Texas. He finished second. And so you think about him having this great run in St. Petersburg at first. Then you think about if he can either match or improve on his second at Texas. Then you roll on to Barber, a track that he's seen before, tested on before. Indianapolis, a track that every IndyCar driver has a ton of experience on, the road course, of course. And then you go to the Indy 500, where really, if you think about it, Scott McLaughlin was, by and large, throughout the month, the strongest Team Penske car. It was only when Simon Pagenaud really finally came to play in the race that he was unseated with that one. So you think about Scott McLaughlin, and I think he's a real championship contender. And I think he's proving all of those things that Roger Penske said about him, you know, 3 years ago. I mean, Roger Penske called him, said that he reminded him of Rick Mears for a reason. And Rick Mears, what a great champion driver to think about, especially in these open wheel cars. The rest of the field, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? I think, you know, you look at Grosjean, you look at Herta. You know, Herta would have been right up there, I suspect, had he not had fuel issues, for sure. Even McLaughlin admitted that he was the strongest guy, but you look at, or one of the stronger guys, and you look at Palou. If this is a bad day for Palou and you say he finished second, whoa. So Palou's title defense starting out just as strongly. as anyone we've ever seen before. Man, I just want to drink this in a little bit. How cool is this? And you think back to 3 years ago, and when we tried to do this in 2020 and it didn't work out very well. To have such a smooth weekend and have that great interview with Mario Andretti, it was fantastic. Subscribe for more motorsport content, and I'll see you in the next video.